since I didn't record anything last week, I just ran the Andrew LaRose interview. I missed talking about the MLB awards. So here we are today. We thought we'd go through them. Jonathan and I actually have similar opinions about this, about the problem with it. So, Jonathan, why don't you go ahead and lead us off with what is wrong with the award system?
Personally, I believe the award system is flawed by writers voting on the awards.
Mm-hmm.
I find that same issue with, I honestly find the same issue with the Hall of Fame ballot as well, to kick back onto that. Just to throw a couple names out there to get it out of the way. Shoeless Joe Jackson is a Hall of Famer. Pete Rose is a Hall of Famer. Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. Okay. Roger Clemens is a Hall of Famer, and Curt Schilling is a Hall of Famer. But I'm just one of those people that believes that your peers are the one that should judge you. If you're going to be judged individually, which I'm not big on individual awards in anything.
Especially on a team game like baseball.
Exactly. There's so much put into them that I don't know. I just don't hold them in high regard. Like if you tell me a guy won a World Series championship or a guy won 2 MVPs, I don't care. That guy won 2 MVPs. Oh, well, he doesn't have a ring. And at the end of the day, flags fly forever. So
you're right.
The awards, yeah, it's great for guys on the financial side. Me and you had that conversation a little bit. Financially, it's very, very beneficial.
And that's where my problem comes in, is that you have writers who are going to hold grudges, who get voters fatigue, who get real hot and bothered by a certain story throughout the year, going to give a guy an award. It's not objective, and there are financial repercussions that come because of it. I have the same problem with All-Star voting. I refuse to vote for the All-Star game because guys get financial incentives for making the All-Star game, and I don't want to be the one. And I understand it's one vote a day for a month, 2 weeks, something like that. But still, like, I don't want to have any part of that. I don't want to be the one that's responsible for a guy's kicker.
Get robbed of that All-Star vote because you've got it's opinion. That's what it comes down to.
Well, and they're not in a market that gets the exposure. They don't get the national exposure, so they're not going to get the votes. Like J.P. Crawford had an outstanding first half of the season. He should have probably been included on the All-Star team somewhere, but because you have name recognition, granted, Carlos Correa had an outstanding year, but you've got him and you've got other deep shortstops in the American League, especially, who are going to make it ahead of J.P. Crawford, who, like I said, legitimately probably should have been on the team. Because he was great in the first half. So that is the problem that I have with All-Star games, awards, things like that.
Well, and I kind of look at it in this sense too, and I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself later on in this segment. Before the All-Star break, you could argue that Juan Soto may have not been an All-Star because he started so slow.
Okay.
And really, I believe he turned it on at the All-Star break. The home run derby broke something loose in him to where I don't know. He just started to turn it up after that. But I'd have to look back, but I'm pretty sure he was named an All-Star. He wasn't an alternate.
Right.
But you had a guy like Schwarber who was tearing the cover off the ball the first half, and I'm pretty sure he made it as an alternate.
But he did. I think he actually missed the All-Star game because of an injury. He got hurt right before.
Right.
So,
but he wasn't even if you remember, what was it, the month of
it's June.
June.
An amazing June.
He was tearing the cover off the ball.
Yeah.
And he wasn't an All-Star, but Soto was.
It's
just
and same team at the time, right?
Yeah. And that to me is just a small example of how many guys you see get shafted.
Yeah.
Just because their name's not the biggest one out there. They may be the best player at their position, but if they're not in the biggest market, what's it matter?
Yep. Unless it's like the Royals a few years ago. What was it, like 10 years ago, when they basically stuffed the ballots? They had some kind of incentive for their fans to go out and vote. And they had, I think that there were 8 Royals starting in the All-Star game. 7 or 8 Royals. It's unreal.
And that's exactly why the All-Star game should be voted on by their peers.
Exactly.
Who is the best at your position? That's it.
Yep, I agree with you. All right, let's go ahead and get into these. So first we have comeback player of the year. In the American League, we had Joseph Anthony, also known as Trey Mancini. He deserves comeback player of the year award the rest of his life, if you ask me. Coming back from cancer the way he did, like that's hands down. There were some Mariners fans who wanted Mitch Haniger to win it because he came back from a ruptured testicle and then a back injury and had the year he did. I was like, I love me some Haniger, but he didn't come back from stage 3 cancer. So I'm sorry. So Trey Mancini gets it the rest of his life.
Mancini's one of those guys that, like we were just discussing, if he played in another market, Mancini's name would be huge.
He would be.
I 100% agree with you, though. He should be comeback player of the year for the next 10 years.
Yep. In the National League, we had Buster Posey. Again, I love me some Buster Posey. I can't think of anybody who is actually more deserving than Posey, just off the top of my head. He took 2020 off because his wife had just had, I think they had just adopted twins or something like that, triplets. They just had babies, multiples, not just a single baby.
I can't remember if they had twins or if they adopted twins.
Yeah, same thing. But either way, they had 2 new babies in the house. I don't blame him at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic being like, no, I'm not going to go play baseball. I got more important things to worry about right now. And he had the money to sit out. Yeah. But he came back and had an outstanding year and led the Giants to the best record in baseball.
Yeah. I mean, I think with either guy, there was really no argument there. Trey Mancini, not even a question in my book. Buster Posey, I can't think of anybody that's more deserving. So, to me, I feel like the writers nailed that one.
They definitely did. Okay, let's go on down to manager of the year. Before we get into the one that we want to talk about, let's go down to the National League first and talk. Gabe Kapler was the National League manager of the year. Deserves it. Nobody saw the Giants coming from anywhere, and they go on and they win 107 games.
If I'm not mistaken, where was Kapler at before he was in San Francisco?
He was in Philly.
I thought so. I just wanted to I wanted to make sure my memory was correct there.
Your memory does serve you. Yeah, and it didn't end well. It didn't go well at all for him, by the way.
It's Philly. Kapler's he's definitely deserving of it. Best team in baseball.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they almost got it done.
Well, and they got eliminated from the playoffs on a trash call.
You hate to see a series end on a call like that.
It was so bad. Like they probably could have come back and won that game if they'd just been given one more pitch, and it got taken away from them. And it's awful. It's legitimately upsetting. I don't even care about the Giants, and I was upset about it.
I do like to argue with people, though. He was already down 0-2.
He was.
Now, but he came back. You give him another pitch, there's always that chance.
Here's the thing. You always tell a guy when you're in the dugout, he's down 0-2, hey, you only need one pitch to get a hit. Needed one more pitch, that's all.
Yeah, but you only need one more pitch to strike out.
That's true. Yeah, you also only need one pitch to fly out. So it is what it is. But manager of the year for the American League was Kevin Cash. Go ahead. I'll get to it. You lead us off here.
I don't know what else to – I will say, because we didn't touch on it in the free agency because he wasn't a free agent, signing Franco to a long-term deal is the best decision the Rays have made in a long time. How long he's a Ray will be in question.
Right.
I lost my – I don't even know if you call it respect, what I thought of Kevin Cash – in the World Series last year. I felt like Kevin Cash tried to show that he was smarter than everyone else. And don't get me wrong, what Tampa Bay is doing is working, but it's working well enough to get you to the postseason.
Well, and it's working from a front office aspect. It's not working it's not working because of what he's doing. It's working because of the decisions the front office is making. But go ahead with what you're saying, because you're spot on with this.
The best example with that I can give is, Billy Beane's looked at as this great general manager, this great guy that runs a team, but he's just ran a team to the playoffs. They've never gotten over the hump. And Kevin Cash is that. I mean, he may be the manager and not the GM, but he's the same way. He's not going to get him to the top.
No, he overthinks, and like you said, he tries to prove that he's smarter than everybody else by making moves. And so they won 100 games. The Rays won 100 games in a division where they should have, because Boston fell off during their COVID outbreak. The Yankees were the Yankees, not good. I felt like the Blue Jays underachieved this year. They had some bullpen issues that kind of caught up with them. And then Baltimore was Baltimore, unfortunately for them. The Rays were they should have won that division with the way everybody else played. Kevin Cash didn't do anything to help that team get to where they were. The guy who I thought was deserving, and I thought at the beginning of the season was going to be deserving, was Scott Service with the Mariners. And that was our very first episode of the season. I said that the Mariners are going to overachieve. They're going to miss the playoffs by like maybe a game or two. And Scott Service is going to win Manager of the Year because nobody saw that coming. And ended up missing on the last day of the season. Service did an outstanding job with, I think there were 8 or 10 guys who made their major league debut this season. He had Jared Kelenic, who was supposed to win Rookie of the Year, was like projected to, and he went on an 0 for 38 stretch. But I could see Service at the top of the dugout with him while he's in the hole and head out on deck, just encouraging him, like at one point, what was it Service did? He's talking to his bat. Like, wake up. You got hits left on you. Wake up, kind of knocking on it, like teaching Kelenic to wake his bat up. It didn't work, but he was there encouraging him, which, you could, as a manager, you could be like, I've got bigger fish to fry than a rookie who can't hit.
Mm-hmm.
But he was there.
You look at guys, and it goes back over to the National League, which taking nothing from Kapler. To me, the guy in Seattle probably should have won the award just because he took a team that was not projected to do very well. And
maybe win 70 games, I think is what a lot of people had.
All Kevin Cash done was do what was projected to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they get to the playoffs and they do the same thing that they'd done the year before. Yeah, they made it to the World Series, but making it to the World Series and winning the World Series are two totally different things.
It is.
And this year they didn't even make it that far.
That's what I say. This year they didn't make it to the World Series, so they actually took a step back from where they were last year. So, yeah, no, I didn't think Kevin Cash deserved it. I think that the only reason they give it to him is because he's in a trash market and he's winning. But it's not because of him. It's because of the team that the front office is putting on the field for him.
Correct.
So, all right. Rookie of the Year. Speaking of the Rays, got Randy Rosarina in the American League and Jonathan India in the National League. Rosarina, I didn't think was going to get it, honestly. Because to me, like last year, despite his outstanding postseason, I was like, that's fine. Like you have guys who have an outstanding postseason every year. Chris Taylor is a postseason all-star, but he's average at best in the regular season for the Dodgers. And part of that is because he's playing behind guys like Seager, Justin Turner, now Trey Turner, and in the outfield behind Cody Bellinger, who had a down year, and Mookie Betts, right? So there's a lot of big names in front of him, so he's not getting the playing time that he deserves. But then in the postseason, when you need a pinch hitter, you need somebody to start the game who can be pinch hit for later. He's getting the playing time that he deserves, and he's having a chance to shine. I thought that Randy Rosarina was going to be the same way as a rookie who nobody had any scouting information on him at all, right? But then he comes in and he has the year that he did, and he wins Rookie of the Year. So good on him.
That's one of the things with baseball that's always hard for me to take in is the fact that a guy played in the postseason the year before, done really well, but he comes back in as a rookie the following year. It's always weird to me. Like
it is weird, well, especially since in the NFL, you can sit out your entire rookie season, and that's your rookie year. And then in basketball, if you sit out the first year with an injury, you can win Rookie of the Year the second year, like Ben Simmons did.
And I've never been a fan of that. I just haven't. To me, I would have argued Franco a lot of the way just because, it wasn't a huge sample size, but it was enough to get him paid this year. So,
yeah, I thought he was going to be the guy. I thought it was going to be him.
A Rosarina, congratulations. But I just,
not a true rookie.
No, and I mean,
well, he had the peak of the mountaintop experience the year before, and he thrived. Like nothing is going to make him nervous.
And then in the series against Boston, didn't he steal home in the series?
Yeah, he did.
Like that was awesome.
Yeah, he's lightning, man. He's fun to watch. He's electric. But yeah, good on him. Congratulations on winning the Rookie of the Year. Jonathan India, you called this one, didn't you?
I did. The National League, there wasn't a ton of great rookies.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of just like he stood out a little bit more than everyone else to me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's playing in Cincinnati. But,
well, for now, he is.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll move on from him in a couple of years when they have to pay him. But no, I do remember him standing out, though, among the rookies especially. Like, he's a good player. I mean, he wasn't – like, there's sometimes you get the Rookie of the Year and, they say, who won it? You're like, who? I definitely knew who he was. I recognized him. I probably could have picked him out of a lineup. So he's got that going for him at the very least, because there's a lot of guys in the big leagues who you can't pick out of a lineup because everybody kind of looks average. But
I think next year's crop of rookies is going to be much stronger. I think we will see guys like potentially Adley Rutschman will make his next step. It'll depend on how the service time works, on how they can keep control for as long as possible.
Yeah.
But we could see Rutschman. I watched what is his name, Torkelson, play a couple times this year.
Oh yeah.
And I think he's still got some room to grow. A guy in Washington, I think you'll see, because they're going to have to bring him up, Kay Cavalli. Cavalli will come out and he could show some strong performances. There'll be a couple guys come out next year, I believe. That's just kind of regional to me. I know that Rutschman's going to be a guy, but to me, I think he'll be more like I don't want to say a poor man's Buster Posey. I can't stay here and tell you that he's going to be as good as Buster Posey, because I just don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he has that potential.
Well, if he can hit, if he can be a serviceable defender and he can hit, he'll be successful, because Gary Sanchez has lasted this long in the league and the dude can't play a lick of defense behind the plate. So if he can be serviceable defensively, he'll be fine, and if he can hit along with it. But no, you brought up a really good point with service time. One of the propositions that I saw as being thrown out there is that instead of like X amount of service time, it's that guys can be a free agent after their 29.5-year season, or after they turn 29.5, rather than accumulating so much service time, because that prevents manipulation of service time, because then we very well could be seeing Julio Rodriguez on opening day.
Mm-hmm.
If he has a really strong spring, he could be on the opening day roster for the Mariners. I don't know that he necessarily would be, but he's more likely to be for sure if that's what happens.
And I think we would have potentially seen Vladdy Jr. a little bit sooner.
Oh, for sure. Vlad Jr. and Chris Bryant are the two poster children for service time manipulation.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
100%. Yeah, 100%. He somehow lost his grievance against MLB, which he shouldn't have, but whatever. Cy Young Awards. We talked a little bit about Robbie Ray earlier for the American League, and National League was Corbin Burns. Robbie Ray, I feel like, was deserving. There were, the three finalists for the American League, they were all deserving. Let's be honest. I'm not a big Garrett Cole guy, but he sorted things out after the whole sticky stuff,
He's overpaid. But
he is overpaid, that's for sure.
Just to let Briggs know, you're probably not going to win a World Series with Garrett Cole, because
too much money tied up.
And he's been there. He's been to Game 7s in the World Series.
I will say this with Garrett Cole. I will say this with him, is that if they get to the World Series and he's on that team, he's going to be hungry, because AJ Hinch didn't put him in Game 7. And that's part of the reason he's so disgruntled when he left Houston, is because he wanted to pitch. He's ready to go, but they didn't put him in when they should have. And that's part of the reason they lost to the Nats.
I'm trying to remember how that worked out, because I believe, didn't they brought Verlander in?
They brought Verlander in. I think they had him pitch.
They left him in too long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. They had him pitch too long. They didn't bring in Cole when they should have. And you know what? I say it all the time. Like, as a manager, you just have to go with your gut and let a guy hate you for 20 minutes. Because anytime those managers come out to pull a guy like, no, I want one more. It's like, dude, he's going to park this next one over the left field fence if I keep you in here. Because that's what happens every time. That's what happens every single time.
I'm trying to remember who went yard, too, because it was like back-to-back yard shots in that World Series.
Yeah, I want to say it was Adam Eaton was one of them. I'm pretty sure.
Was it Eaton and Soto?
I think it was Eaton and Soto, because Soto was one of them. Yeah, I think that's who it was.
And Howie came in and cleaned it up to help win it all.
Yeah, he did. Yep, and then Garrett Cole was all sorts of upset after the game, saying that he was no longer an employee of the Houston Astros.
He didn't even wear an Astros hat in the post.
He wore a Scott Boras hat. Yeah. That's so funny. But the other guy, Lance Lynn, I felt like he was equally as deserving as Robbie Ray. I mean, I'm going to be incredibly biased right now and say just give it to Robbie Ray since he's a Mariner. But, you know, but yeah. And then the National League, like I said, you had Corbin Burns, and that was fine. I don't have a problem with that.
The cool part about this year, I felt in that sense, and you know, all of the awards to a point, there was no like big name.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like neither Cy Young winner was like Robbie Ray. Not taking that from him, he's just not that. He's not Max Scherzer.
No, he's not. He's not.
He's not Garrett Cole. It's just he's not. It's cool to see guys like that succeed with Burns too. That to me is great.
Yep, it is. It's good for him, especially with a guy for the Brewers. That's awesome.
Right.
And then MVPs, National League had Bryce Harper, American League Shohei Ohtani. Go ahead, National League.
Oh, well, let's just go ahead and flip it real quick because I'll save that for last. Shohei Ohtani is – I'll still argue if Vladdy would have won the Triple Crown, it would have been so hard to argue against that because that it's so hard to accomplish that. What Shohei Ohtani done is amazing. It's great for the sport. He's very well deserving.
Yeah, and – I mean, you talk most valuable. The guy who was most valuable for their team out of that group was definitely Ohtani. I mean, if you're specifically giving it to the guy who is absolutely most valuable to his team, Ohtani should win it every year as long as he has a decent year. You know, just because of what he does. But at the same time, it's become the best player on the best team award, or the best player award, not the best player on the best team. Because that's my next thing that I want to get to real quick is that. Of the 6 finalists, none of them were in the playoffs. Do you have a problem with that at all?
I do. And I mean, that goes back to the same thing that I talked about. I hold team awards higher than I do individual awards. To me, if your team is doing well, then you should be one of those guys on the leading team should be considered for the most valuable player because their value, they have to be valuable. It always seems like, I mean, Mike Trout's going to be probably the greatest baseball player of this generation.
I think he could possibly be, when he retires, one of the top 5 ever.
Yeah.
Honestly. He's a freak. Like, he's outstanding at everything he does.
But as long as he's on teams like he's been on, it's really hard for me to just be like, yeah. And that's why it's an individual award at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't hold a lot of merit to it.
Yeah.
They just don't, for me personally, like I don't care if a guy wins 2 MVPs, whatever. At the end of the day, if he doesn't have a World Series, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right now on his trajectory, I don't think we'll see Mike Trout win a World Series. I could be wrong. I hope I am.
Pitching, I mean, the Angels did get Noah Syndergaard, but one pitcher his staff does not make. I mean, granted, they've got Ohtani who pitches really well, but they got bigger issues. They got to sort out that pitching staff.
Well, and you got a guy that's coming off a major injury. It's not like he's.
I mean, he's pitched 2 games in the last 2 seasons.
Right. So,
and they were both at the end of the season, and he only lasted 1 inning. 1 inning in both outings.
And 2 innings in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for that dude. And like, don't get me wrong, I like Noah Syndergaard, but that's a whole lot of money for a dude who hasn't played baseball in a long time.
I'm all about guys getting paid. I want to see everybody get paid, but it's a lot of money to pay for a guy that's played 2 innings in 2 years.
Yep, it is definitely.
So to me, yeah, Shohei, what he done is outstanding. Just to go ahead and roll it over there. And it goes back to the same thing I've said twice previously in this episode. He can have 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he don't have a ring.
Yeah.
He's not going to have a ring.
They probably won't. And I could see Shohei Ohtani honestly being more aggressive about forcing his way out of Anaheim. Sorry, LA. Than Mike Trout. I could see him being more vocal about it because he's already said he's sick of losing.
Yeah.
When the season ended.
Likes to lose.
Oh no, baseball's fun unless you're losing. If you're losing, it's miserable. Let's be honest.
And I think that and here's the thing about it: if we're going to continue to give the MVP award to guys on bad teams or teams that cannot even make the postseason, I would not be surprised, and this is just me being a Juan Soto advocate. In the next 5 years, Juan Soto could have 2 MVPs within 5 years. If he would have started out as well as what he did in the second half, it would not have been close.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, Bryce Harper didn't make the All-Star team. That's the kind of first half he had.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went on a tear in the second half. I mean, I know Soto had a better second half. And honestly, we talked about this on Jason's podcast, that if Soto had won it, I wouldn't have been upset at all. I wouldn't have felt like Harper got robbed, you know?
Well, and it's with Bryce Harper, I think it goes back to this too. Bryce Harper's older. He's not going to have as many chances to win MVPs.
I was going to get there next.
He honestly plays in a more valuable market than what Soto does. You can look at the pace in the second half of the season, and Soto just had a tremendous second half. And I just think it's another one of those turns that they took part of his team effort, because the big thing with Harper that was said all year is he became a leader.
Right.
Okay. And that shows the team aspect of it. But they're using that to also play into the individual award. You see what I'm saying? Like,
oh, yeah. No, I see exactly what you're saying. Basically what they're saying is that he became more valuable as a leader than a player, because we've talked about this before. All of his statistics are below that of Soto. Soto had a better year statistically than Harper did, but yeah, they're bringing in the intangibles, and I absolutely 100% agree with you about Harper being older and Soto being so young. Is that I do feel like that is part of the problem with the writers voting on this, is that they're like, oh, Soto is going to have so many more years to win an MVP. Bryce Harper's window is closing. Let's give him one more, and then Soto can win it next year. What if Soto has a catastrophic injury next year, and either A, his career's over, or B, he's a shell of himself the rest of his career?
Yep.
And this was the best year of his career, his one shot to win an MVP. Then what? That's the problem I have with that.
And that's the guy, though, that I think that he should be right now. When you look at who's coming up on potentially getting paid, Soto probably should be that first guy to break that 400 barrier, just because he's 23 years old. He has not hit his prime yet, and he's already arguably the best player in baseball. I
think he's Tony Gwynn with power. Honestly, that's how I see him.
That to me is there's not many guys that I would like to hear a guy held in high comparison. Tony Gwynn's one of the greatest to ever do it, and he's never brought up when you talk to people about the greatest players ever. Tony Gwynn is one of the greatest ever with a bat, and his name kind of sweeps under the rug.
Yeah, it does, because he wasn't a power hitter. But if it came down to it in a clutch moment, there are two guys I'd want at the plate: Tony Gwynn and Edgar Martinez. Those are the two I'd want. Yeah. Nobody else. It doesn't have to be a home run. They'll find the gap. They're going to get the ball down.
I think that is where Soto will eventually be too, because he's still growing. He's still learning. But just plate discipline at
He
his
is
age.
so mature beyond his years that I'm scared for pitchers in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want to be pitching to that dude in 10 years. I mean, he might be the one who makes it trendy again to not strike out because he doesn't.
Right.
I saw a board. Somebody had said something on I think it was the MLB Facebook when they announced that Harper won the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was like, Soto should have won it. And this guy's like, all he does is walk. Like, yeah, he's on base. There's nothing wrong with that. It's because he's not striking out.
I would rather watch a guy walk 10 times as a strikeout.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
Soto's doing it. I mean, it's going to be his own way. I'm hoping he does it as a Nat his entire career. If I'm being completely honest, I don't see it happening just because the Lerner family just doesn't pay people. They pay the wrong guys. But it's like, yeah, I would love to see him be a Nat for his entire career because he's already done what you play the game for. He's already won a championship.
Mm-hmm.
Really, after that, all there is to do is make money.
Yeah, and then I would hate for him, honestly, to put the bag before the title because, I mean, we had to take a little break for technical difficulties. We're talking about me being a Seahawks fan. That's what Russell Wilson has done. He won a Super Bowl in his second year. They got back his third year, lost on a terrible play call. We won't get too deep into it, but since then, it's been the money, right? Dude, you'll get back to another Super Bowl if you take less money, but he continues to take more every time it comes up.
And that's why, as much as I'm sure been a Seahawks fan, you hate to hear that name, and that's why Tom Brady is so great. He was always willing to take less money. And the reality is, though, they never really invested a ton of money in his offense.
Right. No, it's that he was that good, but yeah. No, and like I said, I'd hate for that to be Soto, that he's just like, I've got mine. Now I'm just gonna get the money. I don't think he's built that way, though. Honestly,
I don't either, but I think once the Nats can get past the Strasburg deal, there's a lot of money to be freed up in the next 3 to 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you max out all the way to Soto's the end of his service time, for one, he's not coming back to you if you max out his service time.
No.
You've got to try and lock him up now. You should have probably done it last year. But if you try and max out his service time just to get that open window of money, he's not coming back to Washington.
Yeah.
He's going to go somewhere else, and he's going to compete for a championship every year. Do I believe if you can get him to sign a 10 to a 12-year contract, it may take getting 8 years into that deal before you're competing for another championship? But at the end of the day, it'd still be worth it because you've got the face and you've got another member to put on your Mount Rushmore in Washington. You've got a guy that when you think of the Nationals, you think of, I mean, me personally, I think of Ryan Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
Mr. National.
He's going to be the first one you think of. If you want to go way, way back in the day, Walter Johnson. You could throw him up there. And when you collaborate Washington with Montreal, you have to throw Vladimir Guerrero up there. You could even
probably
throw Pedro, a lot of great guys.
Yeah.
But Soto is a guy that can be your George Washington.
He can be.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Just you got to be willing to pay the guy. You see what you look, Tatis got paid. Franco got paid after 76 games.
Yeah. Well, and the Mariners paid Evan White before he had even played AAA baseball, which ended up being a mistake because the dude can't hit or stay healthy. But they took a chance on it. They were willing to take the gamble on him because he's a Gold Glover, and they knew that he was a Gold Glover, and that's what they were paying him for. They just didn't know that he was going to be a liability offensively.
I just thinking, a lot of the time I get a little bit irritated talking about Bryce Harper just because I thought he was going to be that face of Washington. But
I get that. I mean, he came up, he was supposed to be the savior of Washington baseball. He was supposed to be the guy who was going to lead them to World Series. But the problem I always had with that was that, and this is what I say all the time. I mean, I told my little leaguers this when I was coaching them, that if you could win a baseball game by yourself, the Mariners would have won at least 3 World Series in the 90s. At least 3, because they're the best player in baseball for at least 3 years, if not 5.
Right.
But here we are. The Mariners still have never been to the World Series. So
it'll happen.
2023, going to win it all. I'm calling it.
2023.